Have you ever stopped to wonder if the people around you are really on your side? If the smiles, the laughter, and the nods of agreement are genuine or just a performance for their own benefit? Most of us go through life assuming that others have our best interests at heart. We trust easily, we seek approval, we lean on support, hoping that someone will catch us when we fall. But the truth is harsher than we want to admit. Not everyone who is close to you, not everyone who calls themselves a friend, is truly rooting for your success. Some are too wrapped up in their own fears, insecurities, and ambitions to notice your pain. Some may even feel threatened by your growth. The reality is uncomfortable, but understanding it is liberating. When you stop expecting loyalty from everyone, you stop giving your power away. Think about the times you've been let down, moments when promises were broken, advice was self-serving, or support was conditional. Those experiences are not anomalies. They are part of the natural pattern of human relationships. People are complex, driven by self-interest, survival instincts, and hidden desires. Your mind wants to believe in universal kindness, in unconditional loyalty, but science tells us this is rare. Research in psychology shows that expecting unwavering support from others often leads to disappointment, frustration, and even self-doubt. But here's a paradox. Once you accept this truth, once you see the world as it actually is, something shifts inside you. You gain clarity. You gain strength. You begin to understand that the only person who can truly guarantee your success, your growth, and your happiness is yourself. This is where your power begins. Not in the approval of others, not in the nods of encouragement, but in your own resilience, your own determination, your own self-reliance. When you realize that loyalty is rare and unconditional support even rarer, you stop looking outward for validation. You start investing in yourself. You start trusting your own judgment, listening to your own instincts, and acting from your own authority. That realization can feel isolating at first, even frightening, because it means carrying responsibility for your life without crutches. But the reward is immense. When no one else is there to hold you up, you discover how strong you really are. You discover courage you didn't know existed. You learn to stand firm even in the face of doubt, betrayal, or fear. Imagine the freedom in this clarity. No longer dependent on someone else's loyalty, you can pursue your goals without hesitation. You can follow your dreams without compromise. You can take risks, make mistakes, and grow without waiting for permission. Every challenge becomes a chance to prove to yourself that you are enough, that your strength does not require outside validation. The world may not always be kind, but in knowing that, you gain an unshakable power that no one can take from you. This understanding, this self-reliance is the foundation for everything that follows. If you stay with me through the next moments, you will learn how to transform isolation into strength, disappointment into clarity, and solitude into unstoppable momentum. You will see that when no one is truly your friend, you are free to become the person you were always meant to be. Every person you meet carries a mask. Some masks are subtle, almost invisible, hiding envy behind praise, fear behind confidence, or selfishness behind kindness. Most people are not malicious. They are human. They protect themselves, navigate their own insecurities, and project intentions that serve them first. And while your mind craves connection, it is constantly being deceived, not out of malice, but because perception is a fragile, flawed thing. You see what you hope to see, hear what you want to hear, and interpret loyalty that may not exist. Recognizing this is not about bitterness, it is about clarity. When you can see through the illusions, the smiles that conceal envy, the words that disguise agendas, you gain an awareness that few ever achieve. This awareness becomes your compass, guiding every decision, every action, and every relationship with precision. The ability to see the masks in others creates an inner freedom that is impossible to overstate. You no longer react blindly to approval or disappointment. You no longer invest your energy in people who drain it or manipulate it. You become a student of human behavior, an observer of subtle patterns, a strategist of your own life. Emotional intelligence research shows that people who can read intentions without relying solely on words are more successful, more resilient, and more capable of self-preservation. When you understand that appearances can be deceptive, you start to act from knowledge rather than hope. You stop giving your power away and start defending it. Every interaction becomes a test, every connection a conscious choice. And as this clarity strengthens, so does your confidence, because you are no longer at the mercy of someone else's hidden motives. When you recognize the mask, you also recognize yourself. You see where you have been naive, where you have relied too heavily on validation, and where you have allowed your growth to be stunted by expectation. Reflection becomes a weapon. Self-awareness becomes armor. Each realization that someone is acting from self-interest rather than genuine loyalty is not a blow, it is a lesson. Every subtle betrayal, every quiet envy, every disguised agenda is an opportunity to strengthen your resolve and sharpen your instincts. You are training your mind to navigate a world that is more complex than it appears, more unpredictable than you assumed. And in mastering this, you transform fear into confidence, uncertainty into strategy, and observation into power. There is an unspoken reward for those who embrace this truth. You begin to move through life unshaken, unmanipulated, untethered from the need for approval. Decisions become easier because they are grounded in understanding, not wishful thinking. Challenges no longer intimidate because you anticipate the forces around you. You start to trust yourself above all else, to rely on your own judgment, and to move boldly toward your goals without hesitation. The masks in others no longer confuse or threaten you. They illuminate a path to independence. Every smile, every word, every gesture becomes a piece of information, a clue, a tool to refine your strategy and strengthen your trajectory. And with each revelation, the freedom of self-reliance deepens. You are not alone because you have discovered the one ally you can always count on, yourself. Once you understand that the masks around you are everywhere, the most important realization emerges. Your greatest ally is yourself. The power to move forward, to create, to achieve does not rest in the hands of others. It rests entirely within you. Self-reliance is not just a skill, it is a state of mind, a force that grows stronger with every choice you make, without waiting for permission or approval. Psychology shows that people who cultivate autonomy experience higher resilience, deeper satisfaction, and more consistent progress. When you rely on yourself, you stop giving others the power to determine your worth, your direction, or your success. You stop surrendering your energy to unpredictable forces and reclaim it for your own growth. Every decision, every action, every ounce of effort becomes an investment in your independence, and every moment of self-trust compounds into unstoppable momentum. Self-reliance begins with belief. Belief in your judgment, belief in your capacity to endure, belief in your ability to navigate uncertainty without crutches. It means taking responsibility for your mistakes without excuses and celebrating your victories without arrogance. It is the quiet force that pushes you to act when others hesitate, to persist when others falter, and to rise when others doubt. The human brain responds to repeated practice and reinforcement. And when you repeatedly choose yourself, repeatedly honor your own instincts and wisdom, you rewire your mind for confidence and decisiveness. Dependence on others weakens resolve. Dependence on approval creates fear. Self-reliance eliminates both. The strength you gain is immediate, tangible, and transformative. This power allows you to act without hesitation. You no longer wait for guidance, permission, or reassurance. You no longer measure your progress against the whims of others. Every obstacle becomes a challenge to conquer with your own abilities. The freedom of self-reliance liberates your mind from doubt and frees your spirit from anxiety. You start to see every barrier not as a threat, but as a training ground, every setback as a lesson, every criticism as a tool to refine your approach. Action becomes the only measure that matters because your results are owned entirely by you. Others may attempt to influence, distract, or discourage you, but none of it can touch the foundation you build from within. As your self-reliance grows, so does your clarity of purpose. You begin to understand what truly matters, what is worth your energy, and what is irrelevant noise. You no longer chase approval, recognition, or validation from unreliable sources. You define your standards, your goals, and your path, and you pursue them relentlessly. Each day spent trusting yourself, acting independently, and standing firm in your decisions strengthens your inner armor. You become resilient, unshakable, and capable of facing adversity with unwavering courage. The reward of this transformation is profound. When no one else can be counted on, you are already equipped. You are already prepared. You are already strong. And with every step you take relying solely on yourself, you prove that dependence on others is optional, but your own power is absolute. This realization does not isolate you. It elevates you. It positions you above distraction, above manipulation, and above fear. When you learn to rely on no one but yourself, you become unstoppable. Blind trust is a luxury you cannot afford. Every time you give your confidence to someone without discernment, you hand them control over your peace, your focus, and your progress. Human behavior is not always predictable, and people act from self-interest far more often than you realize. Studies in behavioral psychology reveal that even well-meaning individuals can betray trust when their needs, fears, or desires conflict with yours. Expecting unconditional loyalty from anyone is a recipe for disappointment. Every broken promise, every subtle manipulation, every quiet act of self-preservation at your expense is a reminder that trust must be intentional, measured, and earned. When you accept this, your mind sharpens, your instincts strengthen, and your energy becomes untouchable. You learn to give trust selectively, not recklessly, and to protect yourself without guilt or hesitation. Blind trust leads to vulnerability, but conscious trust creates power. Observation becomes your greatest weapon. Actions outweigh words. Patterns outweigh intentions. Promises without proof are meaningless. The moment you internalize this principle, you stop being naive. You stop being swayed by emotion or flattery. You stop seeking validation from unreliable sources. Each interaction becomes a calculated choice rather than an automatic response. You learn to navigate relationships like a strategist, aware of the stakes, aware of the currents beneath the surface. You stop reacting blindly and start acting intentionally. This awareness is not cynicism, it is mastery. It gives you freedom from disappointment and fear. It gives you clarity about who deserves your energy and who does not. Disappointment is no longer a threat, it is a teacher. Every instance of misplaced trust, every moment of betrayal is data for your growth. When no one else can be relied upon, the lessons you learn become your armor. Each setback, each failure, each misjudgment is an opportunity to strengthen your judgment and refine your instincts. You stop blaming others for your struggles and start owning your power. The world may be unpredictable, but your response does not have to be. You gain the ability to face uncertainty without fear because you understand that relying solely on yourself is not weakness, it is strength. Your confidence becomes self-sustaining, unshakable by external forces. When you stop giving away trust blindly, you reclaim energy that was previously wasted on disappointment and disillusionment. That energy becomes fuel for your goals, your ambitions, and your growth. Every hour spent doubting others, worrying about their intentions, or hoping for their loyalty is transformed into action, focus, and self-improvement. You are no longer passive in the world. You are deliberate. You are precise. You are unstoppable. The clarity gained from conscious trust empowers you to pursue your dreams without hesitation, to take risks without fear or manipulation, and to rise above the chaos of unreliable connections. The emotional reward of this realization is profound. You no longer feel powerless when others betray or disappoint. You no longer feel lost when support is absent. You are the source of your own strength. You are the foundation of your own success. Every step you take with measured trust, with self-reliance, and with clear perception builds momentum toward the life you deserve. You are no longer a passenger in your own story. You are the driver, navigating every turn with precision, courage, and unwavering focus. The moment you embrace conscious trust, you transform vulnerability into mastery, isolation into empowerment, and doubt into unstoppable momentum. Solitude is not a punishment, it is a weapon. Most people fear being alone because it forces them to face what they try to ignore: their weaknesses, their fears, the truth about their dependence on others. But those who embrace solitude discover a power that no external force can take away. Neuroscience shows that intentional periods of solitude enhance clarity, focus, and creativity. When you remove the noise of expectation, the influence of hidden agendas, and the distraction of unreliable support, you begin to see your life with unflinching honesty. Solitude forces you to confront yourself, to face the parts of you that have been softened by reliance on others, and to step into the raw, unshakable version of yourself. It is uncomfortable because it strips away illusion, but it is precisely this discomfort that transforms weakness into strength. In solitude, every thought, every decision, and every action becomes a reflection of your own power. You are no longer able to hide behind others' approval or guidance. You learn to trust your instincts, to rely on your judgment, and to cultivate a self-discipline that cannot be undermined. The psychological reward is immense: independence, clarity, and a growing confidence that no betrayal or disappointment can diminish. Each hour spent alone is an hour spent sharpening your mind, honing your focus, and building resilience. The silence around you is not emptiness. It is a forge, and you are being tempered into someone who cannot be shaken by external forces. The lessons learned in solitude become permanent, creating a foundation of strength that no one else can provide. Solitude also illuminates truth in relationships. When you are alone, you are no longer distracted by masks, flattery, or manipulation. You see who adds value to your life and who consumes energy without giving anything meaningful in return. You learn to discern intention, to measure loyalty, and to invest only where it matters. Your connections are no longer random, they become strategic. You no longer hope for support. You attract it from those who are genuine while preserving the energy that once leaked into fruitless attachments. Solitude teaches patience and discernment. It shows that dependence on unreliable people is a weakness, while reliance on yourself is a source of unstoppable power. You realize that the fewer you need, the freer you become, and the more you achieve, the more unshakable you grow. The emotional impact of embracing solitude is profound. You begin to recognize that being alone does not mean being lonely. It means being in command of your mind, your actions, and your destiny. You learn to find satisfaction within yourself, to celebrate your own victories, and to shoulder responsibility without seeking validation. The clarity, the focus, and the resilience cultivated in solitude are transformative. You become untouchable by manipulation, unaffected by disappointment, and unstoppable in your pursuit of purpose. The isolation that once seemed like a weakness is now your greatest advantage. You are no longer dependent on anyone's loyalty, kindness, or approval. You have everything you need within yourself, and that realization unleashes a power that nothing in the outside world can contain. Every interaction you have carries an undercurrent of hidden motives. People rarely act purely from kindness. Most actions are shaped by self-interest, fear, or desire. The human brain is wired to protect resources, status, and security, often at the expense of others. Recognizing this is not cynicism, it is awareness. Every smile, every compliment, every gesture of support can contain a silent agenda. When you begin to notice these subtle cues, you no longer navigate life blindly. You start to see the invisible forces shaping behavior around you. You gain a perspective that allows you to act with clarity, to protect your energy, and to respond deliberately rather than react impulsively. Awareness of hidden motives is a form of empowerment that the majority of people never achieve. Understanding the hidden agendas of others transforms the way you interact with the world. You stop being naive. You stop assuming goodwill where none exists. You begin to evaluate intentions critically, observing actions instead of being swayed by words. Psychology confirms that perception is a key factor in decision-making and personal resilience. When you see through the surface, you are able to anticipate behavior, avoid manipulation, and protect your focus. Every conversation, every negotiation, every relationship becomes an opportunity to refine your judgment and strengthen your independence. The power of awareness allows you to navigate complexity with precision, to engage strategically, and to maintain control over your life, even when external forces are unpredictable. This clarity also strengthens your internal authority. Once you recognize that people act from their own needs and desires, you stop giving them control over your emotions. You stop allowing external validation to dictate your sense of worth. Your self-respect becomes unshakable because it is anchored internally, not in the fragile loyalties of others. Each observation of a hidden agenda is a lesson in self-reliance, a reminder that your power lies in your choices, not in the approval of those around you. You learn to invest only in people and situations that align with your values, goals, and vision, while letting go of those that drain your energy or undermine your progress. Strategic awareness becomes a tool for building resilience and creating momentum. The emotional impact of recognizing hidden agendas is liberating. Fear and doubt diminish because you understand the rules of the world. manipulation, and deception lose their power over you because you anticipate them, see them coming, and act from a place of calculated strength. You begin to cultivate relationships intentionally, choosing connection over dependency, collaboration over expectation, and loyalty over illusion. Every encounter becomes a conscious choice, an opportunity to assert your independence and protect your growth. You no longer need to be shielded by false friendship because your awareness has created an internal armor that cannot be breached. Hidden agendas are not a source of despair. They are a call to mastery. By understanding them, you gain insight, control, and power. You no longer react to the whims of others because you operate from foresight, discernment, and confidence. Every interaction becomes a tool to sharpen your judgment and strengthen your strategy. In a world where loyalty is rare and intentions are often concealed, the ability to see clearly is priceless. Awareness of hidden motives frees you to move decisively, to protect your energy, and to pursue your purpose without distraction. It is the lens through which power, independence, and unstoppable momentum are forged. Disappointment is not a sign of weakness. It is the forge in which your strength is built. When people fail you, when promises are broken, when the support you sought never materializes, you are faced with a choice: to crumble under the weight of betrayal or to rise stronger than before. Psychology demonstrates that adversity is one of the most reliable drivers of resilience and personal growth. Each moment of letdown is an opportunity to examine your expectations, to refine your judgment, and to fortify your mind against future disruption. Disappointment is inevitable, but how you respond to it determines whether it will destroy you or empower you. Those who embrace this truth do not waste energy on resentment. They channel it into self-mastery, relentless focus, and unstoppable momentum. Every betrayal and every setback is a lesson in awareness. The moment you stop seeking validation from others, disappointment loses its sting. The pain becomes temporary, a spark that ignites action rather than despair. Human relationships are imperfect, and relying on loyalty or support as a foundation is a trap. By expecting less from others and more from yourself, you reclaim control. You stop being the victim of circumstance and become the architect of your life. Disappointment, once feared, now becomes a teacher that sharpens your instincts, refines your strategy, and strengthens your resolve. You learn to trust only yourself, to measure your own progress, and to celebrate victories without seeking permission or praise. The psychological impact of embracing disappointment is transformative. Research in positive psychology reveals that individuals who process setbacks constructively develop greater self-efficacy, emotional resilience, and long-term achievement. When you internalize this principle, every moment of failure is an opportunity, every act of betrayal a signal to adjust, and every instance of loss support a chance to grow independent. You begin to see challenges as essential components of your evolution rather than obstacles to fear. Each disappointment reveals a truth about human nature and your own capacity to endure, adapt, and excel. You stop being controlled by external forces and start being guided by internal strength. The emotional reward of this mindset is profound. You cultivate a confidence that is impervious to circumstance, a courage that is unwavering in the face of doubt, and a determination that cannot be shaken by others' inconsistencies. You begin to operate from a place of clarity rather than reaction, strategy rather than hope. Life becomes a series of opportunities to prove to yourself that reliance on others is optional, but reliance on yourself is mandatory. You no longer fear betrayal because you understand that your power has always been within you. Every disappointment reinforces your independence and fuels your drive toward mastery, excellence, and freedom. Disappointment, when embraced, transforms isolation into strength, vulnerability into awareness, and setbacks into momentum. The world may fail to provide loyalty, support, or understanding, but this is no longer a threat. It is your advantage. Each moment of perceived loss becomes an investment in your resilience. Every person who lets you down is a mirror reflecting the truth. The only loyalty you can count on is your own. By accepting this, you rise above fear, you act with precision, and you harness the raw power of self-reliance. Disappointment ceases to be a weakness and becomes the crucible in which your unshakable strength is forged. Confidence does not come from the approval of others. It is forged in the quiet moments when you choose yourself over comfort, courage over fear, and action over hesitation. Inner confidence is the force that allows you to move through life unshaken, even when everyone around you doubts, betrays, or fails to support you. Psychology shows that self-efficacy, the belief in your own ability to succeed, is one of the most reliable predictors of achievement, resilience, and fulfillment. Every time you take responsibility for your choices, every time you act without seeking validation, you are strengthening a foundation that cannot be undermined. This confidence is not loud or boastful. It is steady, unwavering, and impervious to external judgment. It becomes your shield against disappointment, your compass through uncertainty, and your engine for relentless progress. When you cultivate inner confidence, fear loses its grip. You no longer hesitate because someone might disapprove or because outcomes are uncertain. You act decisively, guided by self-trust rather than hope for other support. Every decision you make is rooted in your own understanding and your own values, not in the fleeting approval of those around you. The human mind is susceptible to doubt when it relies on external validation. But when your confidence is internalized, every challenge becomes manageable, every setback becomes temporary, and every obstacle becomes an opportunity to reinforce your strength. Confidence turns fear into fuel, hesitation into strategy, and uncertainty into clarity. It allows you to operate with precision and power in a world that often feels unpredictable and unforgiving. Inner confidence also redefines your relationships with others. When you no longer depend on approval or validation, your interactions are no longer transactional or desperate. You engage with people from a place of strength, not need. You attract respect without demanding it, influence without coercion, and collaboration without compromise. Others sense this power and are drawn to it, not because you seek attention, but because you operate from authenticity and unshakable self-assurance. Your energy becomes magnetic, and your focus becomes untouchable. You no longer waste time on those who drain you, manipulate you, or obscure your purpose. Every connection becomes intentional, every decision becomes strategic, and every action becomes aligned with your highest goals. The emotional reward of cultivating inner confidence is profound. You feel unstoppable because you know your worth, your capability, and your resilience. You are not fragile, not dependent, not swayed by the inconsistencies of others. Every step you take is grounded in certainty. Every action is infused with purpose, and every challenge you face becomes an opportunity to reinforce your independence. Confidence transforms vulnerability into power and isolation into freedom. You no longer need anyone to validate your path because you trust yourself completely. The world may be harsh, unpredictable, and full of hidden agendas, but your inner strength is untouchable, impervious to doubt, and unstoppable in its drive toward your purpose. When you anchor yourself in inner confidence, life shifts. You are no longer reacting to the whims of others or the uncertainty of circumstance. You are creating, acting, and advancing from a place of unshakable self-belief. Every obstacle, every betrayal, every disappointment becomes a tool to strengthen your resolve. You move with clarity, act with courage, and achieve with precision. Confidence is not given, it is built, honed, and owned. And once you claim it, nothing in the world can derail the momentum you create from within. Even when no one else can be trusted, connection still matters, but it must be chosen with intention. Human beings are wired for social interaction, yet the quality of your relationships matters far more than the quantity. Psychology shows that high-quality, intentional connections enhance resilience, motivation, and mental health, while shallow or conditional relationships drain energy and cloud judgment. When you understand that loyalty is rare, you begin to approach every interaction strategically, evaluating whether a person adds value, challenges you to grow, or merely consumes your energy. Connection is no longer a default. It becomes a tool for empowerment, a way to accelerate your purpose without compromising your independence or your focus. Selective connection requires discernment. You no longer seek validation or approval from unreliable sources. You invest in relationships that inspire, challenge, and elevate you while maintaining distance from those who undermine, manipulate, or distract. This is not cold calculation. It is clarity, precision, and self-respect in action. Every interaction becomes a choice, every bond a deliberate alignment with your goals and values. By filtering who you allow close, you protect your energy, sharpen your focus, and cultivate an environment where growth and strength are inevitable. The power lies in the decisions you make about whom to trust, whom to learn from, and whom to let influence your path. Every connection must earn a place in your life because your energy is too valuable to squander on those who are unworthy. The reward for this discipline is profound. You experience relationships differently, not as a crutch, not as a source of validation, but as a source of enrichment and growth. You engage fully without dependency. You collaborate without compromise. You form bonds that strengthen your trajectory rather than weaken it. This strategic approach to connection transforms isolation into choice, loneliness into empowerment, and vulnerability into strength. You no longer fear betrayal because your relationships are intentional. Your expectations are measured, and your foundation is self-reliant. You become impervious to manipulation and impervious to the emotional volatility that often comes from unexamined attachment. Selective connection also amplifies your focus. When you no longer expend energy on superficial loyalty or empty promises, you reclaim the mental and emotional resources needed to pursue your purpose relentlessly. Every interaction becomes a contribution to your growth, every conversation a chance to sharpen insight, and every relationship a potential catalyst for achievement. Your environment, carefully curated, supports your goals instead of obstructing them. By choosing connections intentionally, you create a network of influence, inspiration, and accountability that enhances your power rather than diminishing it. You transform human interaction from a potential source of distraction into a tool for mastery. The emotional payoff of selective connection is liberation. You are no longer dependent, desperate, or vulnerable to the whims of others. Your relationships are intentional, your energy protected, and your mind focused. You operate from strength, not need, from clarity, not hope. By cultivating bonds deliberately, you create a world where every interaction serves your purpose, every alliance enhances your momentum, and every partnership reinforces your independence. You are free to pursue your goals without hesitation, supported by choice rather than obligation, and propelled by alignment rather than expectation. In mastering the art of selective connection, you turn human interaction into an instrument of empowerment, accelerating your journey while safeguarding your strength. Isolation is not emptiness. It is focus, clarity, and preparation. When you strip away the distractions of unreliable relationships, hidden agendas, and shallow loyalty, you create space for your mind to work at full capacity. Research shows that uninterrupted focus is one of the most significant predictors of mastery and achievement. In isolation, every thought, every decision, and every action is sharpened by purpose. The absence of external interference forces you to rely on yourself entirely. It challenges you to confront your weaknesses, hone your skills, and develop the mental discipline that others cannot provide. Isolation is the crucible in which resilience is forged, and it is the environment in which unstoppable momentum is born. When you embrace isolation intentionally, you transform solitude into power. Your mind becomes a laboratory where ideas are tested, strategies are refined, and goals are clarified. You no longer react to distraction, manipulation, or external pressure. You move deliberately, act decisively, and think strategically. Every moment of isolation strengthens your independence and sharpens your awareness. Without reliance on others, you cultivate an internal guidance system that cannot be undermined. This mental clarity allows you to anticipate challenges, calculate risks, and take action with confidence. Isolation does not weaken you. It hardens you, refines your focus, and magnifies your capability to act effectively in the world. Isolation also accelerates personal growth. When no one else is there to validate your choices or influence your path, you confront yourself honestly. You examine your habits, your mindset, and your goals without compromise. The mind thrives in clarity, and isolation provides the conditions for this clarity to emerge fully. Every decision is your own, every success earned by your effort, and every lesson absorbed with maximum impact. The psychological benefits are profound: increased self-efficacy, improved problem solving, and greater resilience under pressure. When you embrace the solitude that most fear, you gain the rare advantage of becoming entirely self-sufficient, mentally agile, and unshakably focused. The emotional payoff of isolation is liberation. You are no longer dependent on anyone's approval, loyalty, or guidance. Every action you take is intentional, every choice grounded in self-trust, and every step aligned with your purpose. You are free to pursue your goals without hesitation or compromise, empowered by clarity and fortified by discipline. Isolation teaches patience, endurance, and self-mastery. It removes the noise of distraction and provides the space to cultivate the kind of power that cannot be borrowed, bought, or manipulated. You become unstoppable not because others support you, but because you have cultivated the internal strength to move forward alone, decisively and relentlessly. In isolation, you discover that true power is internal, not external. The world outside may be unpredictable, disloyal, or manipulative, but your capacity to act, to think, and to achieve remains entirely within your control. The solitude you once feared transforms into the environment in which your mind, your focus, and your resilience reach their full potential. It is here in the deliberate embrace of isolation that you sharpen your skills, reinforce your independence, and build momentum that no obstacle, betrayal, or distraction can stop. Every moment alone becomes an investment in the unstoppable version of yourself. Accountability cannot be outsourced. When no one else is your ally, the responsibility for your life, your choices, and your results rests squarely on your shoulders. Self-accountability is not optional. It is the foundation of power, resilience, and unstoppable progress. Psychology confirms that people who consistently hold themselves accountable achieve higher performance, develop stronger self-discipline, and experience greater satisfaction than those who rely on external pressure or validation. When you embrace ruthless self-accountability, you stop blaming others for setbacks, stop making excuses for inaction, and stop allowing circumstances to dictate your outcomes. Every success, every failure, and every lesson becomes entirely your own, and that ownership is a source of unmatched strength. Ruthless accountability transforms your mindset. You measure your efforts against your standards, not the opinions or expectations of others. Every decision is deliberate, every action intentional, and every result evaluated with honesty. When you hold yourself accountable, you eliminate the crutch of dependence on unreliable support. You no longer hope for guidance, encouragement, or understanding because you provide it to yourself. Each mistake becomes data, each failure a lesson, and each challenge an opportunity to refine strategy and strengthen resolve. Accountability is not punishment, it is empowerment. It allows you to see clearly where you stand, where you need to grow, and how far you can push yourself without relying on anyone else to carry you. The emotional impact of self-accountability is profound. When you stop waiting for validation or approval, fear and hesitation diminish. You act decisively because your standards, not external judgment, guide you. Your confidence grows because you trust in your ability to evaluate, adjust, and move forward without permission. Every challenge faced under this principle reinforces self-trust, sharpens focus, and strengthens resilience. You begin to operate from mastery rather than hope, from preparation rather than reaction, and from clarity rather than uncertainty. The psychological weight of dependency is lifted, replaced by the freedom that comes from knowing you are entirely capable of steering your own life. Accountability also magnifies the impact of every effort you make. When the results of your actions belong solely to you, every choice carries weight, and every victory carries meaning. The energy you invest is directly tied to the outcomes you achieve, and nothing external can dilute or undermine it. Each success reinforces confidence, each lesson internalizes wisdom, and each challenge strengthens your capacity to endure. By holding yourself accountable, you create a feedback loop of progress, discipline, and mastery that accelerates your journey toward your goals. No external validation is necessary because the proof of your power exists in the results you generate and the strength you cultivate along the way. The liberation of ruthless accountability is unmatched. You are no longer at the mercy of unreliable friends, hidden agendas, or circumstantial support. You are entirely self-reliant, entirely responsible, and entirely empowered. Every obstacle becomes a measure of your capability, every setback a chance to learn, and every success a testament to your discipline. Accountability ensures that your momentum is unstoppable because it cannot be compromised by the unpredictability of others. When you embrace this principle fully, you transform independence into mastery, responsibility into power, and your life into an unshakable reflection of your own relentless drive. Adversity is inevitable, but it is also your greatest ally. Every challenge, every obstacle, every moment of resistance is an opportunity to rise stronger than before. Psychology shows that people who thrive in hardship develop resilience, mental toughness, and problem-solving abilities that those who coast through comfort can never attain. Life will test you relentlessly, stripping away support, exposing weakness, and confronting you with betrayal and failure. But these trials are not punishments. They are instruments of growth designed to forge strength, clarity, and unshakable focus. Every adversity you face is a chance to prove to yourself that your power is internal, your resolve unbreakable, and your capacity for triumph limitless. When no one else stands with you, adversity becomes the teacher that cannot be ignored. You are forced to rely entirely on your own judgment, your own effort, and your own determination. This pressure reveals truth, who you are at your core, what you are capable of, and how far you are willing to go to achieve your goals. Each setback tests your discipline, patience, and resilience,